Hello there. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and tonight I have a fun sketch-inspired scrapbook layout that's part of a monthly YouTube scrapbook sketch hop collaboration. It is the second Friday of the month, and it's time to hop. Now, I've chosen to use the August 2024 Paper Pumpkin subscription kit because I need to create an alternative project for my Paper Pumpkin Plus group, where I take a traditional card kit and create scrapbook layouts out of it. This is an adorable paper pumpkin that is birthday theme, and it creates 9 cards, 3 styles, 3 cards each for 9 cards. Now, everything that you need to create these 9 cards is included in this paper pumpkin kit, including pre-printed bases, coordinating envelopes, some extra base pieces, lots of little punch outs and dies that are going to create layers on cake icons, candles, balloons, all kinds of fun elements. It has pre-scored bases. This long candle piece, it creates an interactive card. There are additional pieces like these pre-printed balloon pieces, and look at all the bits that you get. Stickers, tags, sentiment elements, pieces that are going to layer on top of other pieces. And each of these pieces, or many of these pieces, are embedded with a rose gold foil. It's really, really gorgeous. And I'm going to try to incorporate some additional elements of rose gold into my scrapbook alternative projects. I think it's so pretty, and I love that rose gold look. I keep going and going with the parts and pieces because it's crazy how many parts and pieces are in this. You also get an exclusive stamp set, and it's a double stamp set. So you get numbers for creating birthday numbers, little sentiment pieces, and then another stamp set that has more sentiments and balloons and other little birthday themed icons. It's going to be so much fun. Now, it also includes a little bit of rose gold twine, but let's actually look at the original paper pumpkin and look at the cards that it makes if you create these cards as designed. So it creates this fun fold pre-scored card where you open it up, and it has a fun surprise inside where the candles pop out, and it's a little interactive element. How fun is that? So it creates 3 of those, and then 2 additional card styles, one that has layered balloons and one that has a layered cake. So much fun, and I love the color combination, and I love the rose gold bits in this. So again, I'm going to kill 2 birds with one stone. I needed to do my sketch hop collaboration and create my video for the collab using this sketch. Now, Julie from over at Craft with Julie chose the sketch this month, and she chose the sketch from Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, and she chose a birthday theme, which hence my birthday kit from Paper Pumpkin. I'm going to use this photo of my daughter-in-law, MJ. This was before she was my daughter-in-law, but I had a rose gold themed 30th birthday party for her about 4 years ago in 2021, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. Her birthday is in June, and we had some wonderful chocolate covered strawberries and a wonderful cake, and everything was rose gold foil. So I thought, how perfect would this be with this sketch as well as the Paper Pumpkin kit that has some rose gold bits in it. Now, right away, I was struggling because somewhere I have all these photos. They must be maybe on my Google Drive or somewhere, but I could only find one photo for tonight. And of course, the photo is a vertical 4x6, and the candles are horizontal. And my idea was to have some layered candles act as those elements of strips in the sketch. So I thought perhaps it might be possible for me to turn the sketch the opposite direction and see if I could make it work. So some of the coordinating colors in this set are, let's see, Night of Navy Blue, excuse me. So I have a 9 by 11 inch piece, which seems different than a normal frame. Normally we would use a perfect square as a frame, but this is a little bit different of a sketch where it has a wider, amount of space on the left and the right side, but a smaller amount of space on the top and the bottom. So I have a 12 by 12 willow white piece, 9 by 11 Night of Navy. I'm going to add an interior white piece that is actually going to be 8. Now all of it won't show, but I believe it's going to be 8 by 10. Let me double check that. 8 by 9 is the white interior piece there. Now, I'm envisioning maybe putting a cluster of something on the lower right and the upper left, or the opposite. So I'm using the sketch loosely. Now I've pulled out the pink card base exactly as is, and it's going to fit perfectly on that 8 by 9. Now some of it is not going to show on the 8 by 9 white. We also have a pattern, another pattern cardstock that is about 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It's the card base style. And I have a white frame around the 4 by 6 photo that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Now I've actually pulled out some of this gorgeous, gorgeous textured metallic paper. So it's a specialty paper that has kind of a bluish metallic, a gold metallic, and a rose gold metallic. And I kind of felt like pulling in this rose gold to coordinate with all the flecks of rose gold that are in this Time for Cake set. But of course, the rose gold paper is precious. So I'm probably going to gut that and maybe gut it at, like, say, a 1/2 inch frame. So just a little bit of that rose gold sticks out. So I think that I will cut that rose gold to 11 1/2 inches in the length and 9 1/2 inches in the width, so that it fits perfectly under the 9 by 11 inch Night of Navy piece. So when you work with Paper Pumpkin, you get instructions for the original kit, of course, which is the 9-card kit, and it talks about all of the coordinating colors. So Moody Mauve, Night of Navy, Pecan Pie, Petal Pink, Pretty in Pink, Wild Wheat, and Rose Gold are the coordinating colors for this kit. Now I actually pull in another blue, and it's a little bit of a lighter blue. I couldn't quite match the candles. There's some loose candles, but I ended up going with Boho blue. The Boho blue is a little bit of a different tone, but it wasn't quite like Pool Party or a different blue. So I do pull in a little bit of that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to take this pre-printed card base that actually has score lines in it, and I'm going to trim it down. It's actually, I believe it's 3 3/4 inches in width, and then the length I'm going to trim down to be about, I think it comes out to be about 10 3/4. And so it could be that the original size is 11. I cut just on the right side of the candles that start the white so that they would show. And then I cut that 3 3/4 inch piece into 1 1/4 inch strips. Now, I want to cut those into banners because I want to back these with 1.5 inch strips of cardstock, and I've chosen the Moody Mauve, the Night of Navy, and the Boho Blue, and I've just originally cut those at 1.5 by 11. And then I will be cutting the banners into dovetails, the candle bits. My idea is to layer the candle bits so that they come back together, but they have the transition banner color in between to make a really fun layered look with those candles. But I was afraid, since I only have one kit, and I have to make 4 scrapbook layouts, 2-page layouts out of this kit for my Paper Pumpkin Plus group. I promised them alternative workshops, scrapbooking workshops with the card kits or the Paper Pumpkin kits each month. And I like to get 8 pages or 4 2-page layouts. I can't really afford to make a mistake. So what I did is I cut a 1.5-inch piece or a 1.25-inch piece of white, folded it directly in half and made a dovetail so that I would have the perfect dovetail pattern on those 1.5-inch candle strips. So then I used that pattern to cut the perfect dovetails on the ends, flipped those over on top of each other so that each end matched. Then I can lay those on top of the color strips and fussy cut around, and that way the dovetails are perfect. They're exactly the right size. Now I want to layer these so that the bottom strip still shows a little bit of the Night of Navy and that beautiful rose gold on the bottom. And then I want the top strip to come just under MJ's cake. And that way the strips are still a little bit true to the original sketch, even though I'm changing up the orientation completely. So now I have the gutted frame, which I gutted at 1/2 inch, so all the way around, and it's going to go 1.25 inches in on each side, because it's a 9-inch, let's see, 1.5, excuse me, because let me double check that. It's a 9-inch, let me see, 9.5-inch, yeah, 9.5-inch rose gold piece. So it's going to go 1.25 inches from either side and only about 1/2 inch from the top. Now, I saw the stitching on the original sketch and I thought I could do that stitching in a lot of ways. I could make a stitched frame on the Cricut. I could use some metallic marker, some white gel pen, but I have this embossing pen, this medium embossing pen left over from Close to My Heart, and I have some Stampin' Up! Wow embossing powder that I got for a Stampin' Up! Event that I hadn't had a chance to use. And I thought, what if I made faux stitching with the embossing pen, embossed it with the rose gold Wow embossing powder, and then had the edges completely coordinate with the rose gold in this whole set. There's going to be rose gold in the fork for the cake. There's going to be rose gold twine, rose gold bits in the candles, and embedded in the balloons. And so why not do that? So I end up loving that. So basically, if you've never heat embossed before, you add your embossing either by using an embossing stamp, which is a Versamark, and then you stamp onto the cardstock, or you can use these embossing pens, draw on the cardstock, and then sprinkle the embossing powder onto that adhesive pen mark, and then tap it off, and then run your heat tool over it. Now the heat tool gets super, super hot. The heat tool is not the same as a blow dryer, so don't make that mistake. It just gets really, really hot, so you're going to be very, very careful. You don't want the heat tool close to anything that will melt, like your all-purpose mat or your Versa mat or anything like that. But oh my goodness, look at that sparkly goodness. That just added just the most beautiful touch to the edge of the cardstock. Sometimes I forget about embossing. I do a lot of dry embossing with embossing folders, but a lot of times I only use heat embossing like at Christmas time. Sometimes we think about embossing on Christmas cards, but we don't always think about it at different times of the year. And I love that little extra element that it added. So now I have the rose gold frame in place at 1¼ inch on either side, about a ½ inch from the top. I'm going to center the Night of Navy piece. I keep trying to call that Misty Moonlight, but it's the Night of Navy piece. I'm going to add the white, Willow White piece. And I wanted to point out that you definitely could have used Spectrum Noir metallic markers, like a copper or a different rose gold. You could have also used white gel pen, but I really feel like the Wow embossing powder really made a nice added element and a nice fun element to the edge, especially since MJ's party was all rose gold. So now I'm adding that card base to the right. It fits almost snugly perfectly. And then I'm adding the blue pattern paper that I didn't change the sizes on either one of those pieces. They just absolutely fit perfectly the way they were. I'm going to toggle the photo of MJ just enough so that it's toggled between those, nestled between those two pieces, and leaving quite a bit of space over on the right. Now I need to decide how I'm going to put my banner pieces. And I want to line up the candles so that even though there's now transition cardstock in between, I could layer that. And I first experiment with popping it up where the top candles are popped up the highest, maybe like double popped on the top and then regular popped in the middle and then flush on the bottom. And I changed my mind, and I think I would like to pop up the middle layer and leave the top of the candle and the bottom of the candle flush, and then I'll be able to do some tucking into those elements. And I really love the idea of these banners forming the candles, and it almost looks like a little puzzle, and it creates a little bit of a layered element there. And the transition cardstock helps a little bit so that it doesn't just look like one whole piece. It looks like nice layered banners, but it forms the candle scene. I love how that turned out. I was so nervous because I only have one kit to create my alternate layouts for my Paper Pumpkin Plus group. Now I'll link in the description some other paper pumpkins that I've converted into scrapbook layouts. It's all the rage and the trend right now. So many people are taking paper pumpkin, or demonstrators and customers alike are taking their paper pumpkin subscription and the kits from the kits collection and making alternative projects, not just into scrapbook pages, but alternative cards, interactive cards. Ooh la la, I'm loving it so far. Are you loving that little bit of rose gold? I love that we're able to rotate the sketch and make it our own. Instead of the 2 3x4s, I have the 1 4x6, and I've completely switched up the orientation, but having the sketch as a jumping off point really helped me get going, especially with the paper pumpkin. Now I'm pulling in the original cards because I love them. I love what they've done with the cards. That's why I got 2 kits. So I was able to get the paper pumpkin refill and create all the cards, and I'm still going to be able to create 8 scrapbooking layouts, or 8 pages with this. So I love what they did with the layered cake. I love what they did with the layered balloons. I don't need to use the interactive candle cards because I've already used that on the banner. But I love the concept of having the cake on the lower right as a focal element with a title, and then maybe decorating on that same side with some balloons, or in the upper left with some balloons. There's some great tags and things that come in this kit, so I think I could do the journaling on the tags. And I'm just kind of blown away how all of this is really coming together. I had no idea if I could make the busy candles work on the bottom, and how I could pull in the other elements. But I'm fussy cutting the cake out of the base, but I really love that striped strip, that diagonal strip on the bottom, and the Moody Mauve. I might need some of that from the cardstock base, and I have to be really conservative with my parts and pieces because I'm creating 4 layouts. And so I've fussy cut around the whole thing and left kind of a square bottom with that diagonal stripe, and lo and behold, without even trying, it fits perfectly between the photo and the edge. I love that. So now I have the pre-printed pop-out strips to make the layers in the layered cake. I'm going to put some mini dimensionals on the candle, and I'm literally following the inspiration from the card. I love the elements that they have in the cards, so why reinvent the wheel and try to create some other element when they've already created adorable elements in the cards, and I can just transfer those adorable elements that I love right onto the page. So I'm going to add the fork just like it is in the card. I'm going to add the hooray sticker. I'm going to stamp "It's time for cake." I love these hooray stickers. They come right off. I don't have to fuss with punching out something, die cutting something out, or making a title on the Cricut. I love that delicate font in the sticker. So I'm going to grab "It's Time for Cake," and of course in the paper pumpkin kit we get a Night of Navy stamp spot. So I'm just going to use that stamp spot to ink up my stamp, and I'm going to stamp "It's Time for Cake." Now a little later on I do stamp "Happy Birthday" on a punch out banner piece. So we will use the ink spot again, and I actually make some stamped balloons as well. I didn't know I was going to do that at the time. Otherwise I would have done all the stamping at once for you, so you don't have to get that out again. There's so many little bits to this. None of it is hard. None of the bits and pieces that we're doing here are hard, but there's so many little bits that I have had to speed up the video quite a bit to keep it as close. I never usually like to go over a half hour. I love to keep my videos between 20 and 30 minutes because I know people are busy, but there's a lot of detail in this one, and it was a very special occasion. MJ turning 30. So MJ is the mother of Waylon James, and my son Zachary Allen, my youngest son Zachary Allen's wife. And here I'm looking at the balloon pattern, and I'm looking what they did, and I'm trying to decide. We could stamp some balloons in the upper corner, we could use this balloon base, or we could actually fussy cut those balloons out. And I really love the layering that they did with the rose gold balloons, the balloons that have the rose gold flecks in them. So I again am telling myself, why reinvent the wheel when they've created something adorable? I'm going to take the cluster and that concept and pretty close to that cluster and just repeat that cluster up in the upper left corner. I'm going to take some of those bits and pieces and put some more balloons over on the right and create some interesting elements there, maybe some balloons even on the lower left, or for sure some tags. So I fussy cut and left a tiny white edge around to make it look like a die, and that's how many pieces I got out of that one little card. And there's 3 of those cards in this kit. And so I am going to be able to get so many embellishments out of this kit, which makes it way easier to stretch into an 8-page layout. So I'm basically going to add the balloon stamps onto the blocks. And I was a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to mess this up because I'm making the prototype for my Paper Pumpkin Plus group, and I don't have another kit, and I can't get another kit that I know of. I guess I didn't check before this video to see if these refills are still available or not, but I don't think they are. So what I decided to do is stamp 2 of the balloon stamps on white scrap paper and fussy cut those out as well. I believe I could have stamped those just fine in that upper left corner and it would have been fine, but to hedge my bet and to just be safe, I'm going to fussy cut those out and use those. That way I don't make a boo-boo right on my page after I have my whole page assembled. Now, of course, my paper crafters, because they know I'm doing it, could definitely stamp on the page because they're going to see the finished page first. But because I'm creating as I go, I don't have that luxury and I'm going to play it safe. So I'm just going to play around with arranging the balloon cluster up in the upper left corner there. Some of them will be popped up, some of them will be flush, but I'm just working on the arrangement right now. But you have all seen tons of my pages, if you follow my channel, that feature Waylon James. Waylon James is our youngest grandchild, and MJ here is his mother. So she is the one who has gifted us with Waylon James. She's married to our youngest son, Zachary, and this was 2021, and it was her 30th birthday. I think she's not quite a year older than my son, Zachary. And so their birthdays are pretty close together. She was born in June, and Zachary would have been born the next January. And so yeah, their birthdays are a little bit apart, not much. And so we were celebrating the big 3-0 here. And MJ is an outdoorsy girl. She's a vet tech. And so she always says she's not fancy schmancy, but I did the rose gold and it fit perfectly. And she had a really cute blue flannel shirt on that went perfectly with the colors in Time for Cake. So I'm playing. I'm just adding these balloons in different places, trying to get placement of these balloons. Once I get placement, I'll put them in place and some of them will get popped up, but I do know I want to do a little bit of journaling. Now, so I think what I'm going to do is maybe think about creating a couple extra tags out of a tag. So they gave us this, I think it's Petal Pink tag, and I really want to keep most of that envelope. And so I'm going to use the top of the envelope and cut an additional tag because that's a really, really cute Moody Mauve pattern. So I'm just fussy cutting around the tag that they gave us right in the kit. And this is something I do all the time. I will take stickers off of a sticker sheet and I will fussy cut around them to make more of the same. I'll take punch outs and fussy cut around them to make more of the same elements, to stretch elements in a kit. Now I don't know exactly where I'm going to put those. I do end up tucking those into the candles at the bottom, and then I do actually end up making one more tag, a white one, to balance out the colors a little bit there on the bottom. I did a little bit of journaling just with my black Le Pen, and even though Waylon was not yet born, I don't even know if he was thought of yet, but he wasn't born during this picture, but he always says purty. He always says like mama's purty or that's really purty. And so I said MJ is looking purty at 30, and it's time to celebrate 3 decades, June of 2021. So now I'm making that third tag, and I'm gonna just use a hole punch and punch a little hole in the top, and we're gonna add a little bit of that rose gold twine. And we're going to take the twine and do a couple different things with it. But I decided to go ahead and stamp happy birthday just like they did on the card. So there's a little banner punch out, and I stamped happy birthday on that. I love how they used that to tie all the balloons together with a little bit of that rose gold twine. Now I'm going to really rub off this Night of Navy ink because it's very dark. And I'm going to go really lightly on the right underneath where the balloons are going to be, and really lightly under the upper left where the balloons are going to be, just to add a little bit of shading. Now I'm going to take the rose gold twine and I'm going to make a bow, and then I'll adhere the bow to the balloons with a glue dot. I'm also going to make a couple other little pieces. I'm going to make some knots for the tops of the tags, and then I'm going to make a longer string for the balloons on the right. Now originally I think that I'm going to use black Le Pen and make balloon strings, but I actually have an idea. After I trim some of this string off, there's some little bitty loose pieces left over that actually fit perfectly and make the balloons look like they have even more string. You'll see what I mean here in a little bit. So I'm actually just going to make a single string that can come down from the balloons on the right. I'm going to have the bow be on the upper left cluster, and I'm going to make some little knots just by tying a little knot, and then we'll add a little glue dot to the base of those knots, and it'll be super cute and twinkly to add to those tags. So now we have a little bit of rose gold in the candles. We have some rose gold in the punch outs, which are the balloons and the candle. And let's see, is there rose gold in any other punch outs? And I think it's just tying in perfectly. So I'm going to start with the base. So we have a little bit of a foundation for the cluster. Usually we can call it an anchor or something like that, something to build around. So I've put foam tape on the 3 larger balloons that have the rose gold foil in them. And I'm literally copying the card in the arrangement of those 3 balloons. I'm really just looking at the card as I'm putting it together and letting Stampin' Up! Be the guide. I love the card, like I said, why reinvent the wheel? And then I'm going to take a lot of those loose balloons and just build around it. I'm trying to build carefully so that most of the balloon tails are tucked under each other, but yet they're connected so that it's like a big trail of balloons, just like you tied them together with the string. And I really love that look because I don't want to end up with a whole bunch of balloons that are just sort of hanging there without a string on them. I know the card has loose balloons that don't have string lines, and it looks really cute on the card, but for some reason it bothers me sometimes on a layout if the balloons are just like hanging there without a string on them and they're not connected to a cluster. So I originally tried to take my black Le Pen and make a little black Le Pen line, and by the time I get to the end of the layout I don't like it, and I add that rose gold twine right over the top of the black Le Pen, and I love the look. So now you can see that I've taken a micro glue dot, I've just added that micro glue dot to the bow, added the bow to the large balloon cluster, and I'm doing the same exact thing to the tags. I'm adding each little knot to the tag with a little micro glue dot. And then when I finish the balloon cluster over on the right, I'm going to add it as well. So I am again doing this as part of a YouTube collaboration it's a monthly YouTube sketch hop. So in the description, I have all of the other YouTube videos that are part of the sketch hop. Some great, amazing, creative ladies. Their videos are linked in the description of my video. So you'll want to be sure to watch all of those. This is also hooked to a playlist. And then I'm also going to link in the description my other Paper Pumpkin Plus videos where I've created an alternate project. I did last month's was just beautiful. A beautiful color scheme from last month's kit that I absolutely loved. and it turned out really great. So I'm super excited to dive into this one and get all of 8 layouts. And how do you become part of Paper Pumpkin Plus? You simply subscribe to Paper Pumpkin on my shop site. And once you become a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, you are added to my Paper Pumpkin Plus group, where I offer alternative scrapbooking projects to each month's Paper Pumpkin kit. Of course, I'm always working behind. I have to wait for Paper Pumpkin to come out and the refills to come out. And so once those two things happen, then I create. So I'm just now on August, and here we are in October. October's Paper Pumpkin should be coming out this week sometime, and then the refill will come out a little later in the month. So now you can see I've created the balloon cluster on the right. I've added another knot to that balloon cluster and a long string, and I'm loving this. I'm loving the glimmer from the rose gold. Now, I thought, I think we could have gotten by without the bling, but I just felt like somewhere I had seen some rose gold sequins, and I dug around until I found the Neutrals adhesive backed sequins. And I was like, well, do I think that rose gold is going to match the other rose golds? And lo and behold, it does. And I just feel like that just added the perfect finishing touches. Now, ooh la la, look at that. So I'm getting happy. I'm really getting happy. I'm happy with how everything turned out. It was sort of like unknown there for a while where I was heading, but I really, really love the sketch. I love using the Paper Pumpkin and creating an alternative project, and I hope you love it too. Hit like, subscribe, the notifications bell, and shoot me a comment and let me know what you think. And be sure to watch all the other talented ladies on the playlist that's linked here at the end and in the description of this video, and have fun hopping. We'll see you again on the second Friday of next month for next month's sketch hop. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.